최근 들어 금 가격이 정말 무서운 속도로 치솟고 있습니다. 이에 관련해 월가에서도 3,000달러, 5,000달러 다양한 전망들이 나오고 있는데요. 이런 상황에서 포트폴리오에 과연 담아도 될지, 그리고 향후 투자 전략은 어떻게 세우는 게 좋을지 한국경제TV 김종학 뉴욕 특파원의 현지 인터뷰 영상 같이 보시죠.
Recently, we witnessed the price of gold futures for June reaching an all-time high on the New York Mercantile Exchange. What are your thoughts on the current factors driving this surge in gold prices?
Well, there are a number of factors, but they're all sort of pointing in the same direction. The first one, I would say that there's a lot of buying of gold by central banks from 1970 to 2010. Central banks collectively were net sellers. Beginning in 2010, they became net buyers. It's not all the same countries on both sides, but certainly China, Russia, Iran, Turkey, Philippines, Mexico, Vietnam, and others Kazakhstan have all been large buyers of gold. Sergei Lavrov, who's the Russian foreign minister, has said that the currency will be gold. I would say gold linked. That's different than gold backed. It's not going to be the case that you'll be able to walk up to the People's Bank of China and with the brick, unit and say, "Give me some gold." Number two, the United States is in the process of stealing perhaps as much as $300 billion of U.S. Treasury securities that are legally owned by the Russian Federation in retaliation for the war in Ukraine. Seeing the United States steal the securities from Russia would cause those central banks to think about diversifying, at least to some extent. I'm not saying they're all going to dump their U.S. treasuries, but at the margin, they'll have less interest in treasuries and more interest in gold in order to prevent theft by the United States. Concern, you look at the Suez Canal is closed. Global financial sanctions in connection with the war in Ukraine are an impediment to world trade. We had this collapse of the bridge, the key bridge in Baltimore, but Baltimore in the United States, one of our largest ports, that port is closed. People traditionally think of it as the inflation hedge, which it is, but I'm calling it the everything hedge. In other words, it hedges against theft by the United States, geopolitical concerns, supply chain concerns, war, financial sanctions, etc.
If we attribute this gold rally to factors such as inflation, as you said, the geopolitical tensions, what additional reasons do you foresee to gold to maintain its upward trajectory in the future?
Well, the other factor, in addition to the ones I mentioned, I talked about BRICS, Russia, war, geopolitical stress, etc. But another factor is just basic supply and demand. Well, I cannot give individual investment advice, and I won't do that. But I'll comment at a macro level that I do recommend that institutions and individuals have gold in their portfolios. But what's interesting is that when you look at institutional allocations to gold, they're nowhere near that. They're barely 1% on the whole. Certainly, no. If gold allocations for institutions went from 1% to 5%, the price of gold would go to $5,000 an ounce before you knew it. So I do, from a macro level, recommend that gold be 10% of a healthy portfolio.
계속해서 다양한 경제 이슈를 알고 싶다면 구독과 좋아요, 알림 설정 부탁드립니다. AI 캐스터 권미정이었습니다.